Why are Russians so resistant to change? What drives their unwavering belief in their country's greatness, even when faced with different realities? As a Russian who left my home country 2.5 years ago, I've been able to see things from a new perspective. And today I want to share with you some of my observations about Russian mindset, both inside Russia and among those living abroad. Growing up in Russia, we were taught to believe in one dominant narrative. Russia is great and our people are unstoppable. Our history lessons focused heavily on Russia's victories, especially during the Great Patriotic War. We were told that it was Russian spirit who defeated the Nazis, that Russians took Berlin, and that no other nation could have achieved what Russians did. As a pupil and then as a student, I wasn't that interested in history or politics. I was busy with my own line and I didn't have time or desire to dive deeper into studying it. My understanding of history was based on what I taught at school, and I was not the only this way. As for politics, it wasn't something we really cared about. My friends and I often thought that it didn't matter what we did. It felt like those in power would do whatever they wanted, no matter how we voted. I remember as students we were pressured by teachers and university staff go and vote in local elections. And many of my peers said, what's the point to go there? I know how it's going to turn out. It frustrated me, but yet I didn't have the desire to dive deeper into all these topics. I would always vote, but that was the only thing I did. And now imagine how perfect this mindset is for politics. Only a small group of people were really interested into what was going on, looking for different sources of information. In the end, this combination of glorified past and political indifference created a perfect environment for manipulation. With only few actively seeking the truth, most of us remained passive, allowing the system shape the reality many Russians are living today. Living in Europe has given me a different perspective, especially when it comes to history. Take the Hungarian Revolution of 1956, for example. This was an uprising against Soviet control, a movement for freedom and independence. But back in school, this event was either ignored or framed as a counter-revolutionary fascist rebellion. It wasn't until I lived in Budapest when I saw how this event was important for Hungarian people. It's national holiday for them, a proud moment in their fight for independence. I remember walking through streets of Budapest and seeing school children react to the revolution, holding banners, Russians go home, it's not your land, and all of that. And that was a powerful reminder to me of how little we were taught at school about the other side of a Soviet history. And when I looked at all those banners, I felt like a part of it. I felt that we don't deserve to be here. I felt all that pain that Soviet Union brought to that land. And I had tears in my eyes when I realized how many facts and events were hidden from us, from Russians, or how many events were rewritten or sanitized just in order to keep us believing that Russia was great. Another pivotal moment for me was when I visited the Museum of Terror, again in Budapest. The museum has 4 floors, one dedicated to the fascist occupation during the Second World War and 3 dedicated to Soviet occupation that followed. 1 floor against 3 floors. This is how much suffering the Soviet Union caused to Hungary. The exhibits show the harsh realities of life under Soviet control, the political repression, the secret police, the deportations, and the brutal crackdown on the 1956 revolution. It was impossible to walk through that museum and not feel that weight of history that was never shared with us, with Russians. This experience in Hungary made me realize of how little we knew about our own history, that how many events were rewritten or sanitized. It made me question the version of history we were fed in school, where everything was framed as a triumph of Soviet Union and the glory of Russia. Fast forward today, people are divided, Russians are divided. There are one group of people who remember Soviet Union, those who support what is going on, those who believe in the glory of Russia and everything what they do now. And another group of people, young people, who just want to live. They want to create families, they want to earn money, they want to travel the world. They don't want to go and lose their lives. And the government perfectly understands that, so they turned to even younger generation, to children. In 2022, a new law was proposed to teach Russian history from the first grade. Thankfully, it was not passed. But history is a part of World Around Us course for young students, with a clear focus on patriotism and pride in Russia's historical greatness. Now imagine what happens with that 7-year-old child when they are taught that Russia is great, that we are winners, that God is with us, their favorite phrase. And then they go home, they turn on TV and they hear the same message. Russia is great, Russia is strong, and the West is crumbling without our gas. We are doing all of this for good. God is with us. What will these children grow up believing? How will they see the world when every piece of information reinforces that single narrative? Recently I came across a few pictures on Instagram of small kids, like 5 years old, and they were in the kindergarten holding pictures of Russian's president, saying him happy birthday, sending great words and wishing him all the best and all of that. What? They stand in front of his portrait or hold his picture, wishing him all the best, more wealth, more health, or even less work and more money, which says a lot about culture that's being fostered. When kids are exposed to propaganda in such an intense way, what chance do they have to form their own opinions? And with the YouTube and Instagram being blocked in Russia, fewer people have a chance to look at different sources of information just to get the full perspective or to look at the situation from the other side. The government is slowly cutting off everything, every source of information that they dislike, making it even harder for people to see the truth. After I left Russia, I've noticed significant change in my relationships with my family, with the grandparents, with the sisters, with those who stayed in Russia. And I made a mistake. At the beginning, I was too aggressive, trying to convince them that they were wrong and I was right about life in Europe. But over time, I've learned that this approach doesn't work. Thankfully, we managed to rebuild our relationships, and now I just share my experience of what is going on without any embellishment, without any attempts to make them feel worse or make them feel envy or something. I just truly believe that these genuine stories, this experience can help those who stayed there to change their minds, to look at things through different perspectives, to try to see that there is some misalignments with what they hear on the TV and what they get from their relatives who actually live in that areas. My dad, for example, started noticing that misalignment with what he sees on TV about life in Germany and what I tell him. So he usually sees that life is getting so much difficult, people are getting poor, there is a huge there is a high inflation, and German's economy just is going to crash down because without Russian gas they can't survive. But when I share what we do and how we live, that we manage to travel a few times per year, we manage to live in a nice place, in a nice neighborhood, and support children, and they have education, they have a healthcare. It's a decent standard of living. It just doesn't sound like Germany is going to crash. And this is how change begins, not by forcing, but just by showing the truth. By sharing our real experiences, those who left Russia and living abroad now, we can plant seeds of doubt. And over time, these small seeds might grow into a bigger realization that the reality they are told is not the only truth. So what can we do? We must keep sharing our stories. We must continue showing how life outside Russia is, not with aggression, but with compassion. This official narrative many Russians receive makes them be so aggressive to the rest of the world that it's not going to lead to anything good. By living our truth and sharing it with those who are willing to listen, we can begin to change minds. It won't be easy, but it's a good way to start. And I wanted to share all of this with you because I want to bridge the gap between Russians and other nations. I also make the same video for my Russian channel and let you know how it goes. I hope I will not get that much hate in the comments, but we will see. Thanks for watching this video. Be safe and sound. See ya.